What's going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another episode of Vaughn Coleman Presents. I am, of course, your host, Vaughn Coleman. I'm sorry for the late start. My bad entirely, but we're here nonetheless, and we got some great stuff to talk about. And before I talk to my guest, I always like to, promote what I've got going on. And I've got some exciting stuff. This is my comic book, Living Legends. And yes, we finally have a colored cover. That's right. Living Legends Issue 1, set 20 years after World War III. It follows this idealistic teenage boy who's the son of a World War III veteran and grew up idolizing the heroes that fought in the war. And one day, during a freak accident, he is struck by lightning while holding this mysterious crystal he found, and he finds himself awakening with these electricity superpowers and super speed. So naturally, he decides, okay, that means I'm going to be a superhero. So he and his best friend Freddy, they train, and then he sees a reactor on the news, so he tries to strike out on his own and stop a reactor heist with no training. And that, well, he finds himself in way over in his head. So if that sounds interesting, definitely check it out. There will be a trading card as well. It's just, if you like the Uncanny X-Men, if you like New Teen Titans, all those things, this is a book for you. Spider-Man, especially the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, was a huge influence when it came to just writing an origin story. And also the interpersonal dramas, Stan Lee with his runs with Ditko and Ramita. I mean, just all of the best stuff. I really wanted this to be a love letter to just everything that inspired me. And also just a damn good story. And it's going to be the origin story. It's going to be 64 pages, plus some bonus content in there. So you're not going to want to miss this. So again, sign up. And here's a sneak peek of what World War III is like. And yes, you will see World War III with superheroes in a prequel storyline. But let's get this one off the ground first, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, enough about me, all right? Well, hold on. Did I not put the link in the chat? I'm sorry, amateur hour here, ladies and gentlemen. Sign up for Living. There we go. And without further ado, Matt Fowler. How you doing, Matt?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Dude, my pleasure. Well, listen, I had to. This guy, for those of you that don't know, this guy, I mentioned we were just in a casual group chat and casually talking about comics, and someone had mentioned this story. Now, for those of you that don't know, as I talked about with my book, I'm a huge Claremont fan, and I've been following a reading order. And I know this is like it's not written by Claremont, it's Archie Goodwin, but it's like considered part of that run, that era. But I just hadn't read that story yet. And I was like, oh, I'll probably read it eventually, like digitally, whatever. And then Matt just goes, dude, I can just send it to you. And I was like, really? Yeah. I'm like, oh, thanks. And then I get that. And then you sent me like basically, I don't know if it's your whole catalog, but you sent
me I just gave you one of everything.
And I was like, well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I was looking through all of it. I love, dude, one of the things, like I liked getting comics and stuff, but there's something about original artwork, and again, this is beautiful, that I just is so special to have. Like, I mean, I'm never regretting paying for a remark or a commission.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because I sent you that Matt Weldon character design sketch. Okay, yeah. His pencil work barely shows up on camera, but like you can kind of tell.
Oh, does it not show? Oh, it shows up a bit.
Yeah, and that's published. That's in the back of the book in the character design section.
This is the gallery edition.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude! Yeah, I gotta talk about. I mean, wait. So like, this is supposed to be for people getting remarks or like commissions and stuff.
Oh yeah, the trade dress, what's that called? The special paper stock or whatever. Yeah, that's for the original sketches though, done in the style of that the old Image comic book paper or the DC comic paper.
Dude, there's so many facets as I'm learning as a publisher, because I was like, oh, I wrote my script, just get my talent. And it's like, no, you got to learn paper stock, which I'm still learning, they realize how much printing costs, distribution, marketing. It's so much that goes into making comics. And you've made a lot of them at this point. So like, I want to ask, I guess before I ask what got you into creating comics, what got you into comics in general?
I think I grew up in the early 80s, so I came into comic books through Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo cartoons would have special guest stars on them, like the Harlem Globetrotters or Laurel and Hardy or Sonny and Cher, different cultural things. And every once in a while, they would have Batman and Robin on there. And they were with the Scooby-Doo crew, fighting the Penguin and Joker and stuff. But I was into that. And then Electric Company, had Spider-Man at the time doing the library stuff, fighting Bookworm and whatever. So it was heavily integrated in the TV I was watching, and I wanted more of it. So like I sought out the Super Friends cartoon and the Superpowers toys and the Secret War toys and the Secret War toys brought me into the Black Spider-Man,
oh yeah.
And Black Spider-Man was like my shit. It was my favorite toy, along with like Snake Eyes or Jetfire, just a few toys that were stand out, but Black Spider-Man was like my favorite shit. So by the time Kraven's Last Hunt started coming out on the newsstands, I was like, oh, there's 3 different Spider-Man books. Oh, and you can get this story every week, or bi-weekly or whatever it happened to be at the time. So that was the first.
It's Kraven's Last Hunt
Thing that got me going to the market.
That book is, I mean, I haven't read this in probably over 10 years, but it's a masterpiece. I mean, it's one of those, it deserves, all the praise it gets. And the 80s, because I go back to, especially with Claremont's run, I finished all the 80s stuff. And now, especially, this is 89, I think, right? Is this 89? I want to say this was 89. But
the Kraven's Last Hunt is 87.
The Scorpio Connection I was saying was 89.
Oh yeah, yeah.
87. Obviously you had like Mutant Massacre, you had Born Again, Dark Knight Returns, Year One, Crisis. It's just, I think it's, at least for the big 2, probably I don't think you could top that.
Right. So Kraven's Last Hunt got me to the stores and going to the shop weekly to pick it up or whatever. And then like you were saying with around the Mutant Massacre, Fall of the Mutants time, that they had done this trade dress that was like the entire Marvel universe, along the edges, right?
November 1986. I love those covers. I want to buy all of them.
So as a kid, I would want to grab every one of those. Like I would go to get the Heathcliff one or the Snake Eyes one or, the Wolverine one with the Romita cover. And I was just obsessed with tracking those down. And they would sometimes come in the Toys R Us 3-packs, that were like 3 comics sealed together. It might have been 2 G.I. Joes or a G.I. Joe Transformers and a random Heathcliff or whatever type of Star Marvel comics. So,
what's going on, Eddie Winkler? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Eddie? I know Eddie in person, man. Real life friend. Good guy, man.
Awesome. Yeah, no, here we go.
Oh, there you go. That's the trade dress right there.
I love these. I was talking to Jim Salicrup. He's the one that did these, actually. He's the one that did the.
He drew all the little characters that go into it. That issue of Daredevil is one of my favorite issues of Daredevil.
Which one was that? I don't know because I've read we're going to go through on my channel at some point all of Frank Miller's Daredevil run. I'm getting both some friends that have read it and some that haven't, which is going to be really fun. But I know Nascenti's run. I've read only some of the tie-in issues, and I've loved every issue. I know people swear by it. This is a Nascenti.
That's straight Nascenti JRJR run, I believe. And there's like lots of X-Men characters that make cameos in that run too. So it felt very X-Men-ish, at the time when I jumped into it. So the first one I read was where they fight the Freedom Force, Pyro and Blob and it was
Mystique, Destiny, Avalanche.
And they were like authorized by the government at that time, hunting down mutants, and Daredevil's protecting this little girl that's got mutant powers or whatever that they're coming for. But this is a good issue.
I don't know if I don't think I've read that one. I've read the one where he fights Sabretooth in the sewers. That one was great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, now it's just what the hell did this list evolve into? It went from Oh, this is homages to. Okay, now I understand.
Oh, modern ones. Yeah. Anyway, so I was coming off Secret Wars and the toys, GI Joe, Transformers type stuff, and going to the store all the time every week for the Spider-Mans, and those I remember those trade dresses caught my eye and got me reading multiple Marvel comics. I had to anything with that trade dress I wanted to pick up just to see, because I thought it all connected, way more than it really did. But like at the time as a kid, I was like, oh, this is like all my Secret Wars stuff, like come to, whatever. And Craven was really dark. So as a 10-year-old kid who was wanting to be a teenager, back in the 80s, kids didn't want to be kids. They wanted to be little adults.
Same thing with me, that you always wanted to be older,
So the dark content and the dark look of the Mike Zeck artwork and the fights with Vermin underground and, the suicide theme to the storyline, that shit was just adult and really cool. So as a youngster, I was very into that,
Mm-hmm.
And then, and as the years rolled by, of course, 89 Batman came out, and the rise of the comic book shop kind of happened. So you learned about stuff you had missed, like the initial Turtles launch and Ronin, or whatever type interesting thing, some Lone Wolf and Cub, or that type of thing, and just started getting into comics then. By the time about 89 Batman hit, I'd say I was a full
Ronin's another
one, comic shop goer, not just a newsstand heading to Tony's Market, to see what was on the shelf, but actually to a place that had bags and board. I started storing them shits and actually, oh, these could be worth something, or maybe whatever.
It's so great. I mean, there was so much great stuff. Though that's such a great decade to grow up. And again, another reason why 86 is the greatest year in comic history. That trade dress that was November 86. There's, again, mark that to the top 20 reasons why that's the greatest year in comic book history. But that's interesting that you got into it through the shows and stuff, because I did too. I got into comics through there was the movies, and there was the Justice League TV show, like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie. There was the Justice League cartoon. There was, and then, I'd watch things like the Dark Knight in theaters, and then that Lego Batman sets, everything but the comics. And slowly I'd get pushed more and more and more. I wanted to go, well, where did all this come from? And finally in 6th grade, I just had to pull the trigger, and I read Batman Hush, Batman, the animated series, all that, led me to comics.
The Bruce Timm, Paul Dini universe, with Batman, Superman, Justice League, Batman Beyond. I'd say 90% of my DC knowledge comes from just that series alone, because they cover all the great, issues or interpret them and stuff. And yeah, man, most of my love for the DC universe is built in that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it got me, where I am now. It got me to start going, well, there was so much, and I'm like, not enough. I want more. I want more of these characters. And, it brings you there. It
still trickles in, because sometimes I kind of consider a lot of that Young Justice stuff.
Oh, Young Justice.
Continued on to it. And they do little movies every once in a while still. But yeah, man, when that was on Cartoon Network, I was running to catch the new episode every time it was ready to air, man.
Yeah, Young Justice was a big influence on my writing too, in terms of how to write teenage heroes. Greg Wiseman's stuff was so good. I have my list, but enough about, with my favorites, because I also know you're a video game guy too, which I want to get into in a bit, because I love that stuff. But I wanted to ask, okay, so you've got this, you start doing comics eventually. Who are your favorite writers?
Frank Miller, I'm basic bitch with that. I like Frank Miller.
He's in my top 5 too. All right, so it's not going to hear any judgment from me.
Now, at the time, I liked Claremont when I was reading it, but at the end, it was too many B and C plots that never went anywhere and paid off. So I don't revisit any of it fondly, because it doesn't go anywhere. Slavers and some of the long shot stuff, or what happened to Genosha, or any.
Yeah, I'm getting there to Genosha. I'm not crazy about Genosha. Some of the plot lines in Love But I haven't gotten to the end, and from what I understand, he had so many plot lines going, and then they just like threw him off, and he was like what?
Remember the emissary guy from he was like running the hand for a while.
The Mandarin. Well, the Mandarin, he didn't run the hand.
No, not Mandarin, the other guy, emissary, the guy that like made Psylocke and all that shit. He's got like the Wolverine kind of hair, but is like a clean cut dude. He's one of the upstarts.
I don't even remember.
If you type emissary, he should come up. Anyway, like I liked all that stuff at the time, and then those sub B and C plots with no, his name's just Emissary. He's a Wolverine villain.
Oh, here we go. Now, all right, there we go. Emissary. I don't know if I got to find him. All right, I'll have to look back into that. But that's a great issue.
Right. Oh, I think he's in that Psylocke run. You know, when she gets converted to an Asian girl, right?
Yeah.
Some of that first Jim Lee stuff. Anyway, what was it? Oh, so yeah, they had like B and C plots with the Foot Clan, with the Hand, and what are the Fenris twins, right? The two twins, and
yeah.
They just never revisit, and like Slavers and some of the orphan maker and nanny stuff, and
orphan maker and nanny. I love those two. I think they're so nutty, but like I love those villains. I don't know. I think he was still. I mean, listen, Gambit. Like I just got to Gambit. Like he was one of the first, latest characters. Like he was still churning out iconic characters. Like. And I'm sure he would have churned out even more. I mean, Gambit was one of the last ones he came up with. I
mean, I was around for like Lifeguard and all those characters when he was doing Extreme X-Men.
Oh, I never read that.
I mean, that's where a lot of those B and C plots I thought would almost like pay off or be resolved in was that run on Extreme X-Men, but then it just got really silly, with like Lifeguard and this other stuff. But you're in the middle of it. I don't want to even spoilers or ruin it for you.
I'm at the end, but I'm at where it's like so many books that it's like his run and everyone else's.
So what's been your favorite issue so far of that whole run?
That's a good one. What's
your favorite part of ISOM?
So that's a different question.
No, I know, I'm joking. What's your favorite issue of the run?
137 is up there, which is like, Final Dark Phoenix. 150, where Magneto, it's revealed to be a Holocaust survivor. That's one of the best ones. Trial of Magneto. I love 211, which is the one with the trade dress, where they're in the heart of the mutant massacre, and like Colossus snaps the guy's neck. That's one of my favorites. The Art Adams, like Asgardian Wars stuff. Honestly, Avengers Annual 4, where they go back and learn about Nightcrawler's past, and they have to journey into hell to rescue Nightcrawler's soul. That's one of my favorites. I mean, there's so many. Obviously, you have the Fall of the Mutants is one of my favorites in general. Like just that whole story. Mutant Massacre, Inferno. I love Inferno. I love that 4-issue Frank Miller miniseries. I'm a huge fan of that one. I mean, there's just so many. Giant Size isn't Claremont. I mean, there's so many, man. There's so many. Even like one of my most underrated is the one where it's like all the side characters versus what the hell were they called? Reavers, like where because it's because then it was like there were actually stakes because they weren't going to kill off Rogue or whatever, but like they might kill off like Avalanche or whoever. And they kill off Destiny, and who else did they kill off? Like some people I didn't give a shit about, but I don't know. I just like that because it was like a testament to how good of a writer he was. That it's like, I can make an X-Men comic without the X-Men, and you'll still read it and like it. And I'm like, yep.
What issue was it where Magneto kills Zaladine? Like where he finally just goes full evil again? Is it 275 or 270?
I haven't gotten there, so thanks for the spoiler.
Never mind. I'm gonna walk way back because my favorite one is coming up. You haven't hit it yet.
Oh yeah, I haven't hit it yet. I'll get to it soon. I'm getting to Extinction Agenda.
Well, I mean, you've seen
Claremont, Frank Miller.
You've seen X-Men #1, right? Like
I've seen the outside. Yeah, I know Magneto went evil again. Yeah.
Okay, cool. As long as that's not a spoiler, man.
Yeah. Well, no, I assume that always happens. Well, he does it in like one of the New Mutants issues. I want to say 85. He goes back to the He takes over the Hellfire Club. It's a whole thing. But yeah. Okay. So Claremont, Frank Miller, those are also two of my top 5.
Yeah, you probably haven't reached Emissary or the Upstarts yet. That's all starts around the Jim Lee run or whatever.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. So we got so you said Claremont, Frank Miller. Who do you have any other favorites?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I like Alan Moore's stuff. I like The Killing Joke a whole bunch.
By the way,
I didn't like Watchmen all that much, but I like The Killing Joke.
Bancroft said send Fowler the link, by the way. I just didn't want to interrupt their X-Men. I don't know what that's about. I'm assuming that's an inside joke. Killing Joke's great. Yeah, Watchmen, I like Watchmen, but I also do understand like both sides of the argument why I think it's very well written. There's some stuff in there, especially some opinions on the superhero genre. And I can read stuff with opinions that I disagree with, no problem. But there's some stuff I'm like, really? Like where you compared the superheroes to the KKK, and I'm like, you really think that's a good comparison?
It is though, right? Because what is the KKK is vigilantes, right? And that's vigilante mob justice, where
so you was go Robin out at
night, Max, and that what they considered was justice, right? That's justice that the law wasn't handling, right? So they masked up and went to fight what they perceived as crime. I mean, Batman's kind of a fascist. It's a rich white dude that dresses up in leather bondage stuff and goes out and beats up poor people at night. I mean, it's kind of baked into comics. Like that's what vigilantes are. But Death Wish. Think about Charles Bronson and all that shit. Or the subway shooters, in the 70s during Hell's Kitchen era. I mean, vigilante justice kind of is enticing, to sell or whatever. Like it's the bloodlust of the American people, man. They like to put on a mask and do shit they feel like the law isn't handling, and they definitely like to fantasize about that shit. So
I think that's baked into the human nature. I think it's called fascist. That I would have to disagree, especially because if you look in like the comics generally will have a reason for why it works. Like that there's like Batman, like, okay, the police just can't handle these threats. The police in year one, I think year one is a
right, but couldn't Wayne just with all those billions just donate to fucking law enforcement initiatives and public outreach programs in Gotham?
No, because
instead of make laser jet satellites, I
don't want to get in because I could not disagree more because it's like,
and that's why it's fantasy though. That's what I'm saying. Like if Wayne was a real dude, money
but he does canonically in the comics donate the money to these programs. But it's also like, I'm sorry, is getting Joker a therapist gonna stop him? Like seriously, like are we really gonna pretend like being nice to him? No, he needs to get his teeth smashed in and then thrown in a jail cell. And then he'll come out because the sales are good whenever he gets out, obviously. But I couldn't disagree. I think Batman is absolutely a hero. But aside from that, so I know you mentioned Frank Miller, Chris Claremont were two of your favorites. But so then you're a fan, right? What led you to start creating?
Again, Nesenti too, I guess. Like a whole bunch. There's a lot of the Daredevil shit I like. I don't really get into Robert Kirkman that much, or and as far as modern people go, I don't know. There's not a bunch of them I name offhand. They can just pull out of a hat. I don't really buy comic books for writing anyway.
Oh, really? You buy it for the art?
I get that shit for the art for sure. Well, like I'd say it's like
I was asking the wrong questions.
80-20 split of why I would buy something, But the art pulls me in, and then maybe the storyline will get me going. I like Denny O'Neil shit too. So
he's great, man. I mean, he was one of the best.
The Green Lantern, Green Arrow run. I like the back and forth between them and what was going on there. And,
I need to read it. I have the omnibus, but I just haven't read it yet.
I've read a few of Denny O'Neil's Batman books too, not just comics, but books.
That's right. I forgot he did that.
I believe he wrote one of my favorite Batman stories with Neil Adams, and that's the Laughing Fish, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
Where it's the one where Joker trademarks the fucking fish, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because that was an episode of the animated series.
Exactly, yeah.
That's
I had first read it we had this thick graphic novel that I got when '89 Batman came out, and it was called like The Greatest Joker Stories Ever Told or something, and it was in there. But awesome. Yeah, man. So I guess I had Denny O'Neil to that list for sure.
Denny, that's a good list. That's a very good list. Yeah, I've always wanted to do just like getting people to do their Mount Rushmores of writers and artists.
So I like Sean Phillips.
I don't know
that he writes Criminal, right?
Sean Phillips. Let's see if I know any of his stuff. I don't know. Oh, I don't think I've read any of his stuff, but I guess I'll have to check him out then.
He does crime stuff, you know, like noir, I guess, and grindhouse kind of, you know, 70s detective show kind of comic books. Criminal, I believe, is his line. And then I really liked Ed Brubaker, the fucking Captain America run, you know, with Bucky, where he became Captain America for a while. So
I heard that runs. There's always so many runs to read, man, and that is one of the ones I cannot like. I hear so many times people praising Brubaker's stuff, and especially that run is like one of the greatest ever. I've never heard, I keep. There's some comics that I'll pick up an issue of, and I'm like, I need to get back to it. And that's the thing. I think our attention span these days, and also the indie market is so oversaturated that I'll lose it. Like Gun Honey. It's got hot chicks, good writing, good art. And I'm like, I keep putting it down. I don't think Brubaker wrote it, but I forget if he was involved or if there was just a quote from him. Either way, good stuff. Keep putting it down, going, yeah, I'll read that, and then I forget. So, but Brubaker, I mean, The Man Who Laughs is another great one. I don't know if you've ever read that. It's like a reinterpretation of the first meeting between Batman and Joker. It's phenomenal.
Oh, The Man Who Laughs is the 1920s movie that the Joker's design was.
Yeah, so that's
from,
why
right?
So that's why they named it that. And I think the cover is like an homage to that movie.
It's done in that style or whatever. It looks like him kind of.
Yeah, it's great. So then before I get into, you know, that your comics, because now you mentioned favorite artists, I have to ask who some of your favorite artists are.
I like, you guys are gonna get mad at me, but I really like Bill Sienkiewicz. Like everybody.
I love Sienkiewicz, man.
Okay. Yes.
Electro Assassin, Daredevil.
New Mutants.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Because he looks unlike anything else. Innocenti was telling me about how she wanted to get artists like him, that like he really changed the game by her appointing. She was the editor, because it would like really. They were like, "Whoa, this can be done in a mainstream book."
Along those lines, while I have Sienkiewicz listed, I can't forget his partner Denise Cohen. I really like his artwork too. He drew one of my favorite issues of Batman. It was Detective Comics 600. It was this huge, thick annual that came out right at the same time as the '89 Batman movie, and I just dig his style. And fucking, he ended up drawing. Him and Sienkiewicz ended up each drawing one of my favorite albums of all time, like the Wu-Tang album for the Jizza, Denise Cohen drew, and then the RZA's album Sienkiewicz drew. So that crossed over to my love of, you know, music and records and, you know, hip hop and all that stuff too. So
that's nuts. That's so. I mean, he, that makes sense. I know Sienkiewicz has done a ton of stuff. I think his best that I've seen, and I think I forget if he agreed with me, but I think he did. It was Electra Assassin. I think is my favorite of his. Like the water. I don't get me wrong. I like the other stuff. I even like when he just inks. Like I read a Excalibur issue where it was BWS did the co-wrote with Claremont and then did the pencils, and Sienkiewicz did the inks, and had a very unique look that I didn't even know existed. But
Grant Morrison, that's another writer I really like.
Grant's All-Star Superman is a masterpiece.
What
You
was
don't
the
think so?
what? I liked no. I liked his run, but his thing with Quietly that I liked better than All Star Superman was when Dick Grayson became Batman and he was training his son, Bruce's son,
Damien.
Damian, right? And the pair of Dick and Damian, written by Morrison and drawn by Quietly, that run was just some of my favorite shit of modern times, I guess.
Dope.
I like that mantle passing sometimes, because it gets stale. The same guy doing it. I kind of like the Dragon Ball Z thing where they grow up, between every season, and then the main character has grandkids, that can fight by season 7. So like seeing Bruce's son being trained by his star pupil or whatever, it just gives it a little bit, deeper connection or whatever, lineage, I guess.
I'll have to read that because what's funny is because despite like how much because maybe I just haven't I've never read Morrison stuff with Damien, but I think part of why I've always had a thing against Damien is because I'm a huge Tim Drake fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I'm always just like cautious with that. And then but it's also, I don't know. I always thought he was like a little shithead, but
He is. That's
but I
cool.
guess that's kind of why people like him because the same thing like Jason wasn't even that bad for a problem.
He's the son from a one night stand with the assassin, daughter of the League of Assassins. So it's cool that he's a little shit because it's like, no matter how much of a bastard or how misbehaved he is, nobody can do shit about it because that's Batman's kid and no one's gonna fuck with Batman, So he gets a pass, and that kind of allows him to be horrible to these superheroes and just an awful person and shit. I liked him in Super Sons. Was one of my favorite runs of with back and forth him and Connor.
Yeah, I'll have to read that. I know that Peter Tomasi told me he wanted that series, not liking Damien. He goes, "You want to like Damien? Read my Super Sons. I'll get you to like Damien." I was like, "All right," and I will. I'll have to get Peter Tomasi on here at some point. I know he just left DC with that was crazy. But anyway, so you've got a lot of your stuff. We talked about some comics we love. I'm curious, what got you into creating your own?
I joined. All right. So it was probably say 2017, right? And I was watching all those Comic Historian or the guys that just tell what's been happening at Marvel or what's been like they'll just tell what happened on this Hickman run of Fantastic Four, or they'll tell the story of what happened in Civil War, or whatever, these channels, right? Because I'd stopped reading comics about 2012, I'd say maybe whenever that all new, all different Marvel started rolling out, and they kind of renumbered X-Men, like did a relaunch or whatever back to issue 1 or something. So I kind of took that as a time to close down my long box, my pull list, and shut things down to like only about maybe every once in a while I get a Daredevil something, But 2017, I started watching these YouTube videos updating me on stories of comics I'd been keeping up on. And then those, if you let them play long enough, like will eventually feed you down a rabbit hole of like YouTube reviewers and stuff until I ended up at like the Captain Cummings and Doug Ernst and eventually your boy Zach. And the your boy Zach videos were just off the chain. He was just expressing why I didn't like these modern comics anymore without me even realizing why. It's like, oh shit. And he would just read them and then rip them up. And, it just got me into as that developed and the realization setting in of how bad things were in the industry at this point. And then the move the needle hashtag was like everyone expressing what were good comics we were supporting and buying every week. And then them rebuttaling back like, oh, you can't do that, make your own comics. And then that's where it got to that, make your own comics. That was about 2018, I guess, and that's when like everyone blew up, started making comics, I guess.
And here we are. And there's something refreshing about owning your own IPs. There really is, and it's also you realize why most creatives don't do this, don't do owning everything and running everything, is because how much work it is. But I mean, man, you really just went for it. So was your first book Tiger Blue?
No, I think my first book was Red Giant Battle, which is biblical giants versus like 80s style mecha, fighting each other in the midst of the Afghan-Soviet war, like of the 80s. It's the Soviet Union's own Vietnam, so it was going down like that. And that was my first book. I think my kaiju book, Psycho 66, was my second book. I believe Dixie Rose was my third, and Tiger Blue was my fourth book.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it was one of my first story ideas. It just didn't have the right artist at the time, and kind of sat around in development hell until I met Jose Garcia, and he kind of gave me 5 pages of his take on the characters and, his history in animation and working on Voltron and Kung Fu Panda really blended well with the designs, and he really put the flavor in Tiger Blue, and I credit him for most of the success of the first 2 books for sure, man. He really was performing some magic with that shit.
Oh yeah, his Tiger Blue is I mean, I read some of it earlier. It really, it's like very like manga-esque, but like also, you've got still some of that Western flavor in there. So for those that haven't read Tiger Blue, tell everyone what it's about.
Okay, so right before World War II is about to begin, early elements of what will eventually become the Axis powers, Japan, Italy, Germany, right, are working together. So we have evil Nazi scientists, of course, are doing Island of Dr. Moreau style animal experiments, creating these anthropomorphic creatures that are then being trained by Japanese occult dark samurai, this old evil samurai clan called the Tobuko Black, which is a type of fish egg or something, but I don't really want to get into all that. And that's the Japanese element. So the German scientist makes the creatures, the samurais train them, and then they're utilized by the mafia, which is the Italian faction, as enforcers in street wars, mafia level street wars with the crime families in Chicago is where it starts off at.
Awesome. So everyone make sure to check that out. And so where is the story evolved? Where are we at by the time we get to this one? It looks like everyone can catch up. And it's how many pages per book? It's black and white, I know.
Different amounts. 52 pages was the first book. And this book takes place directly after the end of the first book. And it is also 52 pages. And then Tiger Blue 2 is 84 pages. And it's really just a compilation of 4 single issues that are each written by a different writer to form one story, kind of like a crossover run you used to get in the Marvel annuals, that would go from title to title to title.
That they'd eventually the annuals would get so big that they just add these extra stories at the end.
And originally, all of Tiger Blue 2 was just supposed to be supplemental material on different Tiger Blue campaigns, but because of the speed Jose works, it was just all done and released as a volume last year, like shortly after we released Tiger Blue 1. So if you missed it, don't worry about it. Tiger Blue 3 picks up directly after Tiger Blue 1. At one point at the end of Tiger Blue 1, our main character dies from some of his wounds before being revived with a special chemical. At that time, he was dead. He was supposed to go to hell. And now that he came back, there's the 2 guardians of hell, the gatekeepers, Satan's generals, Mizu and Gozu, the ox face and horse head demons. And they're from Asian mythology or whatever. They've been used in all kinds of things, from Lone Wolf and Cub to Airbender to Dragon Ball to Naruto. Like they're just mythical characters that guard the gates of hell. So he died in issue 1 a little bit before being brought back, and they're coming back to collect his soul. So Tiger Blue, what better place to hide than in the heart of Chicago, at the heart of the mafia's skyscraper / fortified fortress, and they're picking their spot to fight these two gods. So you got 300 Tommy guns and Tiger Blue versus the gods. Mob versus gods, all taking place in this Chicago skyscraper that's under construction. That's the main set piece of the whole book. Goes from like an Al Capone's vault style situation in the basement to, exposed beams of construction at the top, and we get a fight from top to bottom in this issue.
Nice. That's really dope. So you really just kind of go crazy. What were your biggest inspirations for this book in specific?
So you see our two giant animal characters there, right? I needed an analog for Bebop and Rocksteady.
There we go.
So
80s kid.
Right. And I was like, okay, well, so my Tiger Blue's my Ninja Turtle. Tiger Blue and his brothers are my Ninja Turtles. So I need to get them their adversary. So that's my attempt at a Karai type character and a Bebop and Rocksteady. So yeah.
Where's Shredder at?
I'm just going for these ones and this one.
Just curious. Oh, so is it all right? It's scary. I'll keep an eye.
There was like 11 Shredders in the first issue. All those samurais with jetpacks and swords. So
right, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you can only do it so many times. I need to read the original Ninja Turtles, but I know I love it. Did you ever read The Last Ronin?
Yeah.
We talked about it. We talked about it. Oh my god, in depth. I was like, as soon as I was like finishing up asking that, I'm like, wait a minute, this is the guy we. Come on. Yeah, that was great. That was a great little series. Let me play the trailer real quick. Oh.
Yeah, I think my YouTube channel is down, so I don't think the trailer plays anymore.
Did you just shut it down?
I nuked all my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all social medias. I kind of needed a break to get rid of all that shit and kind of back away from the internet for a few weeks. And it's been like 2.5 maybe weeks so far, and I don't know, kind of like it. It
wasn't so necessary for marketing. Like, it really is very nice to just kind of. Although I will say I've met some great friends online. I really have, but I totally get the need to just.
And as far as marketing goes, it's like, well, after 5 years, it's really not all that beneficial or hasn't really caught traction or caught on. So I figured for the diminishing and very minimal returns of having all that toxicity in my life, I figured I'd risk it and just jettison, most of that stuff. And most people who've been looking for me have been able to find me and get the email or the phone number, So I'm not gone, but I'm definitely not distracted, by dinging and updates and wondering what the next hottest gossip or fight is, or shit like that. Just kind of good escape, I guess.
Yeah, no, 100%. So we got. So I asked you about your favorite comics, favorite artists. Now, I know you do some comic stuff that's great, and I also do want to pull up because you've got a website where you can get all your stuff, which it's going and creating a website I know is another thing I definitely want.
Oh yeah, you can get our back issues there.
So everyone can go ahead and get the back issues there, and they ship out soon. Like they ship out.
If an order dings, I usually send it out in the morning or by the next afternoon. I have the warehouse is right in my basement, so it's good to go whenever.
And I have a question for you. So I think one of the first crowdfunded books I got was Dixie Rose. I just saw it and I was like, okay, I got it digital, but I think that was one of the first ones I ever bought. I was just like, oh. I like this cover. But I have a question because it ends on a cliffhanger. Are you ever continuing that?
Not really. I might. I don't know. It's just, it establishes like a world and technology. And so, because there's the Rose, the space elevator, that's the Rapid Orbital Space Elevator, or the Rose. And it establishes the Rose Racers, which is like an F-Zero kind of type of league of racers that go up and down the Rose stem. And it establishes like the asteroid mining and the war on the moon for helium-3 resources and shit. So like I built a whole lot of world to just do like a little promo for a real life strip club, which is what Dixie Rose
is that what it
is.
was? I forgot about that.
So we may see a return of the mecha detective, Rusty Hammer, I think is what I called him. But yeah, his character in his world, there may be previous cases he'd done or been on before he dies in this one. So I think it's possible to revisit that, but it probably won't be under the Dixie Rose name, I don't think, since that was kind of like a collaboration with the strip club I was hanging out at like a ton at the time. Not because like I'm some strip club dude, even though I am kind of, but not all the way like that. Mostly because at the time it was lockdowns at the end of 2020, right? And every place was refusing to was closed under regulation, but the one spot in my whole town that refused to follow regulation was this strip club, tiny dive whiskey bar at like the bad end of town called Dixie Rose, and everyone would hang out there because it was the only bar, because there was no even regular bar, and it was so packed.
They didn't get in trouble?
Well, no, they would just flip off the county inspector and be in non-compliance, and then pay the fines because they made so much money.
Wow. I can't believe I didn't hear that. That's nuts.
So it was also filled with excellent strippers because all the strip clubs in Chicago were closed down because of COVID and regulation. So all those like top tier strippers were coming to the only open club they could work at the time. So it was just a series of elements that made a really cool place that at the time that I really wanted to make a comic book, involved with. And the owner was really into that shit. She was super excited about it. And all the dancers were excited about being in the comic. It was just a really fucking great time, socially for me, I guess.
Well, that's nuts. Wow, I didn't know that. So I also want to ask, because you have all this stuff. You have even on one of your things, let me find it. You have a lot of video game stuff. You have the Sega thing, and I noticed obviously you have the retro whole aesthetic is part of your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I'm trying to find the slip you had that was like, oh, it's back there. One sec. You have this Tiger Blue for Super Nintendo. I assume that's not a real game.
Yeah, we had retro packaging for a downloadable game. We do. It is a PC game.
Oh shit!
It's one demo level. Yeah, that came with it. But yeah, for our campaign, we do the Genesis cartridge and the Super Nintendo cartridge and that type of theme. Yes, that's because I represent the artist for Konami, the Tom Dubois guy who's done everything from Castlevania to Contra to TMNT to all the box art for everything from Konami from 1987 to 94, I believe, and no one knew who he was. I'd found him doing religious artwork and biblical stuff and David and Goliath paintings, Noah's Ark type shit, and no one had realized that he was the one who did all this Konami work and stuff. And I kind of solved that mystery, and we had a documentary made and stuff about.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
if you scroll down, it's the documentary's down there. If you scroll down,
nice.
Yeah, oh, right there it is. Yeah, and I'm in that. He's in that, and we made that in 2018. I think came out early 2019. But nice. Yeah, it was a really big discovery in the video game world, and I was able to get him work again, like in modern times, doing video game covers for all kinds of people, like limited run games or several jobs. I mean, they're lined up. We're fully booked for another 2 years on stuff.
That's dope, man. I didn't know that. So what are you? So all right, because you've had the SNES. We have some people saying Sega doesn't, Nintendo don't, and we have SNES disavow. So what team are you on? Because it seems like you're getting hints at both. I see the Sega.
Yeah, I'm Team Genesis. I still play my Genesis after all these years, man. Yeah, definitely Team Sega. But I played all the good Super Nintendo shit: Zelda, Mario World, Super Metroid. All that kind
Link
of
to
stuff.
the Past, yeah. I got to play Super Metroid, but I love A Link to the Past. That game's great, man. And then the original Sonic games. There's a really good mobile port, actually, for like that. They the same guys who later did Sonic Mania.
Sonic Mania is the shit. Like
phenomenal,
that game,
phenomenal, and the
beautiful.
soundtrack in that game is phenomenal. The level design, I've played through that game so many times. I might play through it on stream at some point. It's such a good game.
Sonic CD for the Sega CD is my favorite Sonic game. And
that game is nuts.
Mania looks exactly like Sonic CD, but widescreen, and it's new level and everything. I was so stoked when that game came out, man.
Yeah.
What you're looking at here on screen is what I'm working on now. Is the Tom Dubois Definitive Collection video game and pop culture artwork, which we've been taking all of his old box artwork and posters and McDonald's and Disney ads and stuff, everything he's worked on, all the Konami, all the Data East and stuff, and restoring them digitally, because a lot of those original paintings have been stolen over the years or lost. And since all that stuff's from the mid 80s to 90s, it was never scanned in high resolution, and there's not a whole lot of negatives left of the original pictures and stuff. So it's been lost to time. So we've been busy for the past 4 years or so, me and Jefferson Taylor, that's the guy who's working on it with me. And we've been digitally restoring all the paintings and scraps I could find. And I've been identifying everything he's drawn by going through old comic books and showing him all the ads and saying, like, did you work on this one? Did you do that? You know, kind of filling out his whole catalog and getting that all together, all his Ninja Turtle paintings and everything. And it's been a huge undertaking, but we've got this beautiful, thick, fucking colorful book of all these fully restored retro images we're getting ready to launch as soon as we feel the market is ready to spend some money again. So.
Nice. Yeah, the economy is going into a rough spot, and I know a lot of creators are feeling it. So, but I mean, for some reason, I thought Freddy Krueger when I first saw this at a glance. When I was just scrolling through, I don't know why, because I'm like, now it's like, no, he just has a hat. That's about it.
That's a modern version of Bayou Billy. He is Bayou Billy, like the reference photo of the original old one. So if you look at the old Bayou Billy side by side with this modern one, this is just kind of him nowadays, you know, in his old age, kind of redoing that Bayou Billy piece from, you know, what was it, 88 or whatever, like a long time ago.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's good shit. And so your favorite game, you mentioned, I know you mentioned you were a Genesis guy, but you mentioned a lot of stuff. Do you have any favorite games of all time then? Like, or any
Street Fighter, I'd probably say Street Fighter 2. I'm a fighting game fan first and foremost. Is probably
nice.
Probably
Who's your favorite character then?
Guile.
That's American. Very American. I had a roommate that would play competitive Street Fighter. He was a Guile main.
Nice.
And
what was his name?
His name's Skater Clone.
Okay.
You could find him, but he was I'll probably have him on my show because he's a filmmaker. But yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of competitive, you know, Street Fighter, but even just it's just a fun game, man. It's
you know Phil, right? Phil Diaz.
Yeah, he's a big fighting game nerd. Yeah,
me and him play Street Fighter all the time together, like hardcore.
Oh, really?
He's a big fighting game dude too.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat is his game, the new modern Mortal Kombat game that just came out.
I haven't played the new one, but I'm a huge Mortal Kombat guy normally. Like I love I'm huge into the lore. I played the game a lot. I'm a Liu Kang main for those who are curious. Exactly, that's me. My favorite. And which I know is, you know, some people might say is like I don't know, generic take because he's the main character, whatever. I like him. Dude, yeah, but video games, I mean, there's so much great stuff to create. And I didn't know you created a game. How did you did you have experience with writing or with producing, or like how did you go about creating all this stuff and when you started doing it?
So there's another creator in the space. Anyone who's worked on any of my Tiger Blue stuff is from the chats and of the streams. You know, we all hang out at Finatra's stream on Sunday mornings. It's called the Stank stream. It's and last year when we were all hanging out in the chat together, I met my action figure guy, you know, my video game guy, the animation guy. So the video game guy is this guy named Jeremy. he has his own independent comic, which is called Beckoned, and he had already developed like a role-playing game, dungeon crawler role-playing game on Steam called Beckoned. That was for his comic book. And I said, hey, I was looking to do something like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out a little bit, you know, that 3D perspective of the fighters, like, you know, like Punch-Out. And his game has those same kind of graphics, you know, the 3D characters swinging swords at each other. And I said, do you think you could work up a little, you know, demo package if you know, put it together? And he talked to his brother, who's his co-programmer, and they're like, oh yeah, we can do that. And then, you know, they made the one full level of the game for me. So I figured put that on a download code and make the fake retro cartridges for everyone. It'd be a better stretch goal or bonus than, you know, some bookmarks or something. You know, it was getting generic, cool. You know, at that time, like kind of comedy, like, oh, is it a print? Is it a bookmark? Is it a sticker? And then it became a joke, you know, stickers versus bookmarks or whatever. So I figured a cheap video game demo might be cooler. It came about in the quest for cooler extras, you know, that was kind of going on at the time in the indie sphere.
Nice. That's really dope. Yeah, I mean, all that. I mean, the stickers and stuff are nice though, but I mean, like that's a unique thing, and I love seeing in the crowdfunding sphere or just the independent sphere how people will just keep deciding to just kind of keep trying new things and keep, you know, experimenting and all that stuff. I think there's just some really cool stuff in that regard.
It sounds like me and Alex V would get along.
What is Alex saying?
He's listing a bunch of consoles.
Oh yeah, Alex is a big nerd. Alex VRB is a big nerd. Love the guy. Yeah, he knows all this stuff. What was the one? Oh yeah, the CD, the thing that they put on top. And then I know that they had
the 32X went on top, and the CD went on the side. Like
on the side. What was the one? Because I know Sonic and Knuckles was like the full game is Sonic 3 and Knuckles is what they call it, right?
Yep. That's the part of the Tower of Power. It's like you stack, you open that cart and put your Sonic 1, 2, or 3 on top of it, and it unlocks extra features in your old Sonic games. Like it gives Knuckles levels, I think, in all the old Sonic.
That was cool. That sounds like it was really cool. I never played 3. I love because they didn't make the phone port for that, but I know I sound very new kid, but no, I did. I love the original. I don't think is nearly. I think Sonic 2 and CD are a massive upgrade from the original Sonic game because the original he doesn't really go that fast. You can't. But I will say the final boss of Sonic 2 is such bullshit. That is such a pain in the. If you're like 1 pixel off, you die instantly, and you have to do the whole goddamn thing over and over. And it's the first part isn't even that tough, like where you have to kill the Metal Sonic. But it's just annoying because it's like you have to do it over and over. But it does make you like you have to telegraph your attacks. You have to memorize it. So you're constantly like on edge. And I will say the final victory screen was very much felt earned by the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the rest of the game, really not that hard. But that end was tough. Very tough. Yeah, I mean, those games are great though. I know. Let's see, Mania was great. I don't know when the next Mania game is coming out. Hopefully, like if are they making another?
No, a new Sonic game came out a couple weeks ago, but it came out on the same day Spider-Man and the new Mario game dropped. So my son got Spider-Man and my daughter got Mario, and no one was left to pick the Sonic one that would usually have got it. So I think we might have to get it on like a Steam sale or, you know, maybe a Christmas present stocking stuffer situation. But there's a new one that just came out recently.
I still haven't finished the last Zelda, but I know that is it Sonic Superstars? I had never even heard of this.
If it's from 2 weeks ago, that's it.
Yeah, I've been out of the loop with gaming because I've been just so in my own head and just getting comics and working on the production pipeline for my own stuff. And, you know, it eats up a lot of time, but I'd love to free up some time and just do games. Even gaming streams would be a ton of fun. Yeah. That is, did you ever play like the Final Fantasy games?
Yeah, 2 was my favorite. Celtic Moon, I think they call it. Final Fantasy 4 or whatever. The one that was 2 on Super Nintendo, but in Japan, I think it was called 4.
Yeah, I haven't played those. I've only played 7.
I played 7. 7 was really good.
Masterpiece, one of my favorite games ever.
I quit at 8 because it looked too weird.
I heard 8 was kind of
too much.
Some people do stand by it, but I know a lot of people just feel like 8 just didn't live up after 7. That it was just kind of like they didn't know what to do. I hear all kinds of stuff. I mean, listen, it's been great talking to you. I know you're into video games, you're into movies. I mean, well, actually, wait, I said movies just off the cuff. I don't even know if you are.
No, I'm huge movie buff, man.
Well, let's hang on. Yeah, I'm just curious.
I watched Oppenheimer. I caught Oppenheimer last night. I liked it, man. There's some fucking good acting in that movie, man. And I forget how much I like regular movies. You know, like I fucking hate cape shit movies at this point. I'm always disappointed in the shit. Like I kind of just like regular movies, you know? Like I'm looking forward to that fucking Ridley Scott Napoleon coming out.
Good.
Yeah.
Killers of the Flower Moon was very good. I just watched that recently.
Is that in theaters only, or is that on streaming yet?
I mean, it's not on streaming yet.
That's the Scorsese, the new Scorsese,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Held my attention despite its very long runtime. I really liked it. Yeah, I think that was a very solid film. I never saw the new Avatar. I'll have to, but I liked Oppenheimer. I thought it was a bit long in parts, but like I did enjoy it.
Wasn't Downey Jr. like so fucking good? Is that old?
He was good. I think there was some writing problems, but like I do think that he was all the actors did a fantastic job. RDJ. I mean, RDJ does. I've never, he always does a good job. Cillian Murphy, of course, is great.
I love Peaky Blinders. He's one of my favorites. I watched that Peaky Blinders show he's in.
Cillian Murphy, I mean, he's finally getting some of the attention he deserves. Like, finally. He's another guy. He's off the grid on social. He doesn't even use social. He didn't even know that they were like memes of him. I'm pretty sure. He just he's so off the grid. Like he just is like, what?
It feels better. You're almost like free of like a million little concerns that are like a death by 1,000 cuts. You know, like that you don't even realize, are burdening you and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you totally do realize that. I get it. I 100% get it. Sometimes I'm trying to figure out a balance between like using my phone for the stuff I have to and like total detoxing and just finding that middle ground. But
I find that the computer, I just have to go to it and go down to the office. So it's not like I'm just laying around. Like, you can hit the phone anywhere, It's like if I keep the dopamine source of joy, like in a place where I have to walk to, I won't be just like, in your fingertips is just too close for that shit, is what I've found.
Yeah, I got to work on that. But yeah, man, keep doing all this stuff. I mean, thank you so much. For like sending me all of this stuff. I mean, you didn't have to, but like you sent me Wolverine Scorpio connection and that was great. I mean, massive generous dude. He sent me all this stuff. Just totally I was just like, oh, that's I don't remember ordering something this huge. And then I get it and just like literally your whole catalog.
Yeah, the catalog's easy to include when you're sending a gift, because you got so many in the
good
boxes.
For marketing too. That's why printing extras is good, people. Printing extras is good. You don't want to just print the bare amount. Here you go, right here.
And here's a secret. I grabbed that Scorpio connection for $4.50 at my LCS in the used box. So
this is an original, right? Because
I think so. Because it may be a second or third printing because it was popular at the time, but it's old. It's back
because it was made as a hardcover, which I just assumed that this was a reprint until I was like, holy shit, you actually sent me an original.
Nice. Okay,
yeah. Cool. Or I don't know if it was original, but it was like reprinting back then. My point is, it wasn't like a.
Oh no, it's definitely not a modern joint. That's from
which is
at
awesome.
least 89 or whatever. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a very good book. I really enjoyed it. I like those Wolverine side stories. It reminds me, there was also the Wolverine versus Spider-Man, which I recently did a short on, and I talked about with John Hervey. I mean, like those those side Wolverine stories where they do the espionage stuff and they reveal things about his past, which was like almost like a subgenre of Wolverine stories. There were like so many in the 80s.
So were you as disappointed when Origin dropped as I was when they finally?
I was maybe 4. So
oh, okay.
no, I was not. I didn't have any. I was wait, are you in the movie?
No, I'm talking about when they revealed in the comic books. It was the
I know everyone hates that.
Joe Quesada, Wolverine Origins. They finally reveal he's this little English dude named James Howlett or whatever, and they finally give his history, and it kind of ruined it for me.
2001. Yeah, I would have been maybe I would have been 2 years old at the time, so I can't say I was disappointed. But I know a lot of people were, man. A lot of people really just wish they just kept it quiet and just get their mouths shut with it. But that's how it is.
Because it's like, is he 300 years old? Could he be longer? It was just, it kind of ruined all the mystery for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know why they would do that, because I just think even with Scorpio Connection, David Najuar. Oh, what? Wolverine has connections with Nick Fury? I didn't know that. Oh, what's that? Wolverine had friends that were involved in this, and then you see a flashback of Wolverine. It was always like going back. It was always like his flashbacks would be connected to like a present day storyline. And it was cool. Or like, the X-Men were in Japan. Oh, what? Wolverine speaks Japanese? I didn't know that. It's like, that's how they used to do it. And it was interesting because it's like, I grew up knowing a lot of this stuff about him. So then going back to Giant Size and reading his first like X-Men stuff and realizing, they don't even call him. Do they even have a real name for him yet? Mm-hmm. Does he even really have that strong of a healing effect? Like, just learning all that stuff was just really cool, almost like watching how it came to be. Also the missteps along the way that came later, but how it slowly came to be. Like Weapon X I read recently. Yeah.
Beautiful artwork by Barry Windsor Smith. That's an absolute classic.
Always great. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Where can everyone find you now that you're kind of off the grid? I guess
retrographicbooks.com is the easiest place to find me. There's a commissions or reach out contact email there if anyone needs to find me, or just ask around or Google. I'm not hard to find, man. I'm out there. But yeah, my store is exclusively on the website, or you can check us out on Indiegogo with Tiger Blue 3. I think we're closing about six days left.
Yeah, so let's get that. And I totally forgot, and I'm sorry that because I was just in the conversation, that you can get a sketch and you could get these statues. Are they going to be painted?
No, the ones for sale are just the raw printed garage kits from
Dope.
Phil.
Well, if you want that, make sure you get that. And thank you so much.
They're big. They're about. Hey, I can grab one real quick.
Oh yeah, let's see it. You know what? I need to see this.
Yeah, they're huge.
Holy shit! You weren't kidding.
And they look exactly like the video game box. If you pose them the right way, they're painted exactly like the painted cover.
That's dope, man.
But yeah, Phil and his brother do all the Godzilla garage kits for Toho.
I didn't know that.
Up at Galloping Ghost, they have this gigantic 3D resin printer thing. And yeah, this thing is dope. It's so substantial. It's kind of heavy and, got weight to it. That sculpt is by Shadow Punk. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's around here sometimes, so you might see him. He's done a few sculpts. He did the Gem Shock sculpt for Mandy. He did this couple Salamandroid sculpts and stuff.
Oh, nice. I'll have to look into that. That's really cool. It's really cool, man.
He did a Godlike sculpt, for that comic Godlike.
Yeah.
A few others. He was pretty popular around February 2022, right before his first book was about to launch. He was doing all kinds of fan arts and 3D sculpts. It was all over the place. Good dude, though.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on. You've really done everything. You've done statues, you've done video games. You got any crazy other plans before we that we can hear about? Anything else? Obviously, we got to get this book out first. But
I was gonna say, but I'm kind of winding down on the publishing. I gave it 5 years to kind of see if it would catch, take off, or whatever. And it's kind of winding down. And I've become really obsessed with low budget filmmaking and looking into cinematography. And I've been just getting the bug to say, like, oh, well, if I've spent X amount of dollars on a comic, it's less intimidating to spend X amount of dollars on a micro budget film at this point, you know, because it's like these things are expensive. I might as well be fucking making a movie. You know?
Yeah, totally. I'm looking at it, and at first I was like, comics are much cheaper, and they are if you want to do an action story and whatever. But like a micro budget short, I'm like, man, this is like comparable. It is, but yeah, I'm into filmmaking, so that's right up my alley. If you're ever interested in collaborating, I'd love to, you know, feel free to reach out. I'm really, even just outside of them, interested to see where you got going. You've got a lot of stuff behind you and a lot of stuff interesting going forward, it sounds like. So
and if you ever see a dope movie or something, like, and think like, oh, Matt might like that shit, just send me a text, man. Be like, yo, check this shit out, Matt. Tell me what you think, man. I'm always here, man.
All right, awesome. We'll do. All right. See you guys next time. I'm figuring out my guests for next week, so stay tuned on that. But every Sunday night, if you're new here, we have my show, Hard Chargers. It's me and a couple friends of mine. We have some fun. That show, Comic Strip Club, if you like the comic book talk and you want to see us going down deep into a certain comic, Comic Strip Club is going to be starting up soon on the channel. And, of course, Vaughn Coleman Presents. You can get past episodes. You get future ones. And if you haven't signed up for Living Legends, make sure to do so. So until next time, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys. Peace out and have a great one.